Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining me on another episode of the Estrella Podcast. My name is Danielle Miranda, and before I begin in introducing today's wonderful guest, the time is finally here. If you would like to learn more about the brand new Estrella platform that is launching very soon, please visit estrella.chat. You'll be able to put in your information, get updates as to what's going on, and possibly be a part of the new beta group. Okay, now for introducing today's guest. I have the absolute pleasure of introducing to you psychic medium Jody Higgins. Hi, Jody. How are you today?
I'm good, thanks. Hi, how are you today?
I'm fantastic. I love your top. You look beautiful.
Thank you. This is actually one of my favorites. Purple's my favorite color, so the fact that there's purple in it.
Purple's my favorite color too. I think it's a wonderful color.
It is, and it's such a deeply spiritual color.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Mm-hmm. I'm really excited to interview you today. And I have to say to the viewers and the listeners that when we had talked the first time, there was such a comforting energy that I felt when I was speaking to you. It almost felt like I was speaking to an aunt or a best friend or just somebody that I was very close and connected with. You have such a soothing, calming voice and energy. So I'm really excited to dive deeper in having the audience and listeners getting to know you better.
Oh, thank you. I do get that feedback from my clients, and often they'll say it makes them feel very comfortable, sometimes with information that's difficult to receive, especially.
Yes. And I think that's very important too, because, and I'm sure you can confirm this, as a psychic medium or anybody that's working in the spiritual world, right? I think it's important that we allow clients, people that are coming to us privately, to feel safe and secure. This information you guys are passing along to them is very delicate information. And so I think that's really important to make sure that you're creating that safe and strong, sturdy foundation for them.
Absolutely. Sometimes I'll walk my clients through a little breathing or a little grounding exercise because I want them to get to a point where they're comfortable and they can really absorb the information. They don't have to tell me they're nervous. I can feel it in the pit of my stomach. So helping them be comfortable with them, letting them know that I don't bite unless they really want me to, and that the information that comes through, lots of people expect the information to be scary. And I've never gotten information that I would consider scary. And when doing a reading about someone's life, I very, very rarely get those messages that are cautionary of be careful of this. And when I do, they're usually kind of funny, like, oh, you're going to have a disagreement with your sister and not talk for 6 months. And then they say, absolutely not. And then they call me 6 months later and they haven't been talking.
Right.
Yeah. So I can usually feel it. And the more relaxed someone is with you, the more open they are to the healing that what can come from the exchange of a reading.
Absolutely. Now, you had mentioned to me privately that you are also an evidential medium. Could you elaborate more on what is an evidential medium and how do you apply that into your practice with your clients?
I feel that that is a really important thing that people are aware of. I don't think it's enough to get how somebody died or maybe the age or a date. It's very important to get a name, but it's a very difficult thing to do. If I try to grab it, I don't. When it just pops out of my mouth, it's accurate. So I let spirit guide that. I don't force myself into trying to get anything but the evidential stuff. Once I have kind of validated the connection of I've connected to your aunt or your grandmother or your father, I'm looking for something they shared in common so they can know. For instance, oh, you brought something with you today that you wear on your hand or wrist. Mm-hmm. And they're like, yes. Or here's a really fun one. This is an example from a reading. I was actually doing a phone reading. And, people say, how does the phone reading work or a video work? Well, it's an energetic exchange. And sometimes if that person's not in front of me, especially on phone, I'll close my eyes and I see a lot of stuff. So this reading, I was seeing lots of our favorite color, very bright, like vibrant purple. And I'm hearing, hey, 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 it's Fat Albert. And over and over. And so I asked my person I was reading for, do you understand the significance of this? And she started laughing. She said, my uncle's name was Albert. And I said, was he fat? And she said, no, he wasn't. But his son was, and his son's name was Albert. And he was also a large man. The uncle was not, the son was, and they were both over there. So I asked why I was seeing the purple, and her uncle Albert loved purple, so they draped his casket in a beautiful piece of purple silk.
Wow.
So to me, the evidential part is you can bring forward a piece of evidence for that person so they know you've connected to their loved one. And for them to walk away with something like that is so special and so precious. And so it's always my hope that what I deliver to my clients is something where when they go home, they can say, oh my gosh, I got this piece of information and I know my loved one is on the other side, is so much closer at hand than I thought, and that I'll see them again.
Wow, that is beautiful. I wanted to ask, when actually giving your clients this evidential evidence, is it typically one main thing, or do you find that when you're connecting with their loved ones that they are giving you a lot of different evidential messages to give to them?
I get a lot of evidential information. People will walk away with more than one thing. And it's actually something I like to identify at the beginning of a reading. Are you looking for something more about your life, or are you wanting to connect with somebody? And when they come and they have one or two people they really want to connect with, sometimes they come in with a whole house full of people, especially if they're over the age of 30 to 35. They come in and the house feels very crowded. It's hard to pick out sometimes the one person, but then once I get that person, I get so much information. And it's kind of fun because once one is done, like usually there's one person and they're the big mouth of the group and they are demanding their time and they want to come in first. And then other people will come in. And I know I need to identify what they're looking for in the reading, because once it starts, I often don't have control of where it goes.
Oh, wow.
Right? Spirit is truly the client. We are bringing spirit in, and they're the ones we're supporting.
Yes.
That's part of, one of the things I have to practice is sort of a professional indifference or distance. So I do want to be warm, but I still have to stay grounded. And because when my clients get emotional and they cry, or if it might be a difficult piece of something to deliver, it's very easy to get caught up in their emotions because I am very empathic.
Right.
So I keep a little bit of distance. But once they start getting that information, it's really fun. Right?
Now, have you ever had a situation where maybe there were loved ones specifically during that session that did not come through, and it may have taken a second or third session before somebody actually came through to speak to them?
Yes, it's only happened once or twice in my career. Usually when someone wants to connect with someone, they're right there. And it's not a matter of connecting. It's more a matter of me wanting to over deliver, because that person can come in and the querent or the person I'm reading for is getting information. They're either too emotional or they don't recognize it. And I want them to get what they need out of the reading. So
Right.
a lot of times what I do is I just give them their money back and I say, come back another day. When you feel like you're ready for this,
Right.
right? There's a lot that goes into it. It's very rarely happened. And then they'll come back another time. Because one woman said, but I want a reading with you. And I was like, well, and I want to give you a reading. Um, but maybe it's the day, maybe it's your energy, maybe it's my energy for whatever reason it's not as connected, or they get information and they're not recognizing it. And
Mhm.
I am more than happy to give them another hour of my time just to make sure they get what they need. I feel like it's so important. I want them to have the peace that I have in
Yes.
recognizing what's on the other side. My brother passed away about 3 years ago, almost 3 years ago. And one of the things I have discovered in the last year is that my loved ones on the other side have all communicated with me in different ways. My
Wow.
grandmother was around me for 6 to 9 months, and I felt her all the time. And we had visits in my sleep.
Mhm.
My mom, who passed after my brother, she just comes in with the lightest, tiniest little thoughts, and I know it's her, but it's
Mhm.
like grabbing flies out of the air with chopsticks,
Right.
right? Like Mr. Miyagi in that old movie from when I was a kid, The Karate Kid. Um, and then my brother comes in, guns blazing, super loud, and talks to me. I don't feel his energy. I don't feel him, but he comes in and he talks to me. And what's really amazing about it is quite often his messages feel evidential and I can
Mhm.
validate them. So a year ago last Easter, um, I was brushing my teeth at the end of the day. I'd had a full day of readings. And it's important to note that I was brushing my teeth because the message was about teeth. Um, my brother was an addict. He passed from an accidental overdose. So at one point, his teeth had fallen out. So dental health was a big deal to him, and he'd gotten dentures, and he had the most beautiful smile. So all of a sudden, I hear him next to me, and he's kind of worked up. He pounded his fist on the vanity, and he said, "You call Lexi right now, and you tell her I said get her butt in the dentist." And I mean right now. And I went, does she need Aunt Jody's help? Does she have insurance or money? Because she's quite young. She's 27, newly married, renting still. They don't own a home. So I thought, gosh, probably need to help her. And he goes, and you tell her I don't give a dang about her BS finances. So I grabbed my phone and I sent her a text and I said, hey, Lexi, your dad is standing here next to me telling me you need to get into the dentist. What's going on? And she said, oh, Aunt Jody, you're so awesome. And I said, yes. 2 crowns and 5 fillings that young lady needed.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
So I share that story because I'm not crazy. I run businesses.
Right.
Head is squarely supported to the shoulders.
Right.
I don't hear voices, although they did ask me that at a recent medical exam. And I thought, do I tell them the truth? Because dead people are talking to me all the time.
Mhm.
So, of course, I did not tell them that. But it's the best thing in the world ever because it's validation for me of what's over there. It's validation that what I give to people every now and then I need to know this is
Mhm.
real because it feels so
Yes.
magical, right?
Yes.
Um,
Absolutely.
yeah. So knowing that he comes to me absolutely validates what I know in my heart already. But
Yes.
then to be able to share that with people, it feels so good. And it's the best thing in the world ever to know that I help people hopefully to realize, understand, and believe that they're connected to their loved ones still, even our pets.
Yes.
You
Yes.
know?
Jody, there is so much that you had just stated that I really liked. But the one thing that stood out to me the most was that you had made a statement and had said, am I crazy that I have these gifts? And I think it's important for viewers and listeners to know that no, you are not crazy. If you are finding that you are very intuitive or empathic, You're able to see things, feel things. You have premonitions in your sleep or even while you're awake. It's important that we understand that this is a part of us as spiritual beings to have these gifts. And kudos to you, because that means you've activated them, right?
Yes.
We're kind of living in times now where there's people that are dormant when it comes to spirituality and being enlightened and wise and having this deeper, more profound understanding within themselves. So I love that you said that, because for the longest time, I too thought I was crazy. Being a strong empath, a strong intuitive, I
Mackie, no.
too have visions in my sleep. And I thought that something was honestly wrong with me. But as I grew more into myself as a woman and into my spirituality and connecting with beautiful souls like yourself, I realized that no, I'm not crazy. This is supposed to be happening. This is an awakening.
I
So,
think
yeah,
we're more normal than the other way around.
yes, I
Uh,
agree.
I woke up from a little cat nap last Wednesday. And when I woke up, there was somebody standing over me. I was a young man, 18 to 24-ish. And all I know is he was looking straight down at me, and he had all this dark hair. It was probably down to his shoulders, a little longer, and a red t-shirt. And he was very blurry. If anybody thinks they know what he was here for, let me know. Because I've
Yes.
asked, and I performed a crossing ceremony. It felt like maybe he did go.
Mhm.
Because, even though, I know my home is a hot spot for spirit.
Mm.
So once a month, I try to open up, the white light, the tunnel to the other side. And I invite anybody who's come here, because I don't always feel them. We don't always feel them, but they're around. And I just tell them that it's safe. And if they're ready to cross, they can go. Um,
Could you explain more, Jody, about what is the white light for the viewers and listeners that may not truly understand what that is?
to me, that is the presence of Creator, whatever you call that, whether you call it God. It is, I think it's the shining of their love and their light. And he, she, whatever that greater creator is. And a lot of people look for that when they pass. It's right there. I think if somebody's afraid of crossing and they wait a little bit, that door can close. It's not that it's still open to them. It's just they sort of lose sight of it, right? The truth is, we're always kind of ensconced in that white light and love. We're always protected by it. It's
Right.
just that we don't always see it, right? We don't always physically see it, but it is something that I can connect to in a second. Most of us can, if we choose to, especially if you're already aware and awakened.
Yes.
But to me, it's really a huge sense of love and connection to Creator and to all that is, to all of the other people out there. When I meditate, connecting to their energy, connecting to those who are praying and meditating at the same time. And to me, that grows and multiplies that love. So.
Yes. For someone who has passed on, and like you had stated, the door may have been closed, right? So maybe they don't completely cross over into that white light. Is it possible, Jody, that that door can be reopened for them? Or are there instances where that door never opens for them and they're kind of just in limbo here still, if that makes any sense, in this realm?
I believe that white light is open at any time that they choose to go be with God. Um, a lot of people, we have 3 or 4 days where that light is kind of omnipresent for the soul that's crossed to the veil on the other side.
Mhm.
And so they can go, but a lot of times when they don't, it's either because they're concerned about their family here, or they're afraid to cross. They might have a fear of who they'll see or what they experience.
Mm.
The truth is that we can all go there. We're all welcome there
Right.
because we're here to learn. This is not a definitive. We are not here one time. We can come and go. And even those who cross and maybe don't consider the experience they had to be one of white light, it is still open to them. If you've ever heard about a man named, his name is Howard Strong, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm sorry. Harold Stern. It's similar to Howard Stern, but I think it's Harold Stern. Anyway, his story was one of going to a realm that wasn't so nice, but he heard one word, and that was pray. And when he did, he was delivered to God.
Wow.
Right? So it's always there. I do not believe personally that we are ever left out of God's love. We are always welcome to be there. I don't think that it's common for people to have an experience of what might be hell unless they expect that.
Right.
And so the fact is there's levels of heaven and different levels of closeness to God. And we, in our human experience, and I say human because there's a lot of other experiences we could live out there in this big galaxy of ours. We get to come back and enjoy this beautiful earth and learn more lessons and then go back.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. Jody, do you ever, when you're working with a client or even when you're not working with a client, right, and you're by yourself and you have a spirit come to you, is it possible to know what their purpose or meaning is in this lifetime? So do you ever get that sense of maybe going back into their Akashic records or looking into when they were born? Are you able to see what their purpose here is? Why they were here?
Yeah, I can often pick that up. Usually our purpose is such, we think the purpose would be something big like curing cancer or writing a best-selling novel, but it's really in the little things we do day to day. I think, the number one purpose for every single person that's here is to learn to love. And I have, over the last year, really pondered this, but the most important thing is self-love. It's the hardest to achieve. Self-love, self-acceptance. And where I go with it, and what I tell my clients is, if you ever believe that you're not precious and that you're not special, remember the fact that every single one of us are created in his likeness or her likeness, and that we are created with that spark of what God is. We may only be 1/100th of that spark, but that makes us divine. We are divine beings created in our Creator's image. So, every person you look at should be seen as a spark of God or Creator. And so that's where you can look at yourself and say, I am special, I am important. And, even if you have gifts and you're working on growing them, focus in on that. Remember that is what makes us who we truly are.
Absolutely. Jody, a question just sparked my mind. Do you think it is possible that if we do not truly have self-love and we're able to really forgive and love ourselves, do you think it's possible to fully love your spouse, your family, your friends, or anybody for that matter at our full capacity if we do not love ourselves?
I think yes. I think it's easier to love other people unconditionally. I think it's easier because we're so much harder on ourselves, whether it's how you look, what you say, what you do. We are so much more hard on ourselves. And, I look back at some of the people in my life, former friends, a former husband. I still have deep love and connection with them. I've just chosen to not love toxicity up close. And that's
Mm,
about loving me more.
mm, mm. Yeah,
I think it's such a lifelong education.
it really is. It
And
really is.
part of that learning to love other people, if they hurt you and letting them go, again, to me, it feels like being closer to be more godlike, more practicing that spirit. And
Yes,
that's all part of what allows us to love ourselves more.
yes,
So
yes.
I sound a woo woo,
No, no, not
but
at
I
all.
love it.
Why do you feel, Jody, that collectively speaking, especially in today's society, why do you think it's so hard for people to truly love themselves and to accept themselves and value themselves? Why do you think that's so difficult?
I think it's because we're trying to value ourselves in a world that is so material,
Mm,
right? People want nice cars and homes. They want to have experiences. We have to work to earn money,
mm,
and that can turn into a real race, right? So it's about maybe comparing yourselves to others and not being gentle with yourself.
right, right.
Yeah.
So, in order to experience, right, like I believe another purpose of ours here is to reach that level of enlightenment, right? To be able to correct our mistakes, to grow as spiritual beings having human experiences. So, what are the starting steps, would you say, for somebody to really hone in on that self love so that they could reach their true empowerment and enlightenment in this lifetime?
I think it's about being as gentle and kind with yourself as you are with others.
Mm,
We really don't think about it, um, but we beat up on ourselves sort of subconsciously,
hmm.
right? How many times do you say, "Oh, why did I say that? That was so dumb," or "God, you got to lose some weight. You look so fat." I would never say that to my friend, right?
Right.
So it's just learning to love and accept,
Mhm,
really.
mhm. As a psychic medium and evidential medium,
Yes.
how have you grown into your confidence? How have you grown into saying, this is me, this is who I am, and I am not ashamed nor embarrassed or anything of that nature to really showcase this side of me to the world? How did you grow into that?
Oh gosh. Um, my experience in starting this came from a really good foundation. In my home growing up, we talked about ghosts. We were
Mm,
spiritual. We went to church. When my
mm,
mom couldn't get us to church, I was at the vacation Bible school at the Mennonite church or the Baptist church, going to Sunday school. So there was always that foundation. And for me, always talking to Jesus.
mhm,
He's a big connection for me. Um, so there wasn't a lot of doubt from the beginning that something was there. And I always knew I was gifted. I had no idea I was as gifted as I am
mhm.
and that it would ever turn into this. Um, and I think I'm trying to go back to your question specifically. I really, because my beginning was very magical,
Mhm.
right? Literally, I heard a voice tell me to get a reading, and she told me I'd be doing this work.
Mm.
And I walked away thinking I am not that special. But through some interesting turns of events, that is quite magical. It turns out I really am. And I have discovered we all are. We just
Mhm.
have to get quiet and tap into it,
Yes.
right? I don't know. I never had questions about psychic delivery. I
Mhm.
always knew. When it came to mediumship, I've always felt this was a Father's Day gift from my dad to me.
Mhm.
With in the first year of when I started like practicing professionally, I was at a small event and I used to start reading saying, I know I'm a medium, but I don't sell myself that way because I'm not sure of the connection. Are you open if someone comes in?
Mm-hmm.
Well, on Father's Day that year, I did reading after reading after reading where I introduced myself, and the reading was mediumship.
Mm-hmm.
And I got so much great information. I realized I realized I wasn't pulling someone's leg. Like, you always want to
Right.
know you're doing the right thing. This is so ingrained in me that,
Right.
I know I'm doing the right thing. And after that, that was it. I was just comfortable saying I'm a medium. And it's sort of like when you just say I am,
Mm-hmm.
it's just there. So
Yes.
I can't say I've struggled with it. I have a student struggling with her confidence right now. And
Mm-hmm.
so I tell her, "Are you a medium?" And she'll say, "I think so." And I say, "No, claim it. If you don't claim it, you can't be it."
That's right.
Right. And so I'm I'm fortunate that I didn't struggle too much with that. It
Mm-hmm.
makes it hard for me to help someone who is struggling with it.
Right.
Even that struggle is part of them getting to a point where they know what they're getting.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
yeah.
When it comes to honing in on your skills, right? Because
Mhm.
you've been, you've had these beautiful gifts your whole life. Do you find that there are times where maybe you need to go back to the drawing board and kind of um, revamp some of your gifts in order to keep them, how do I say it, in order to keep them activated? Or do you find that you are still at the place in your life where things can still come easily to you? Spirits can still enter easily. Are you able to still get those downloads easily? Or are there protocols that you follow, like meditation or any type of exercises to help keep your brain activated in that sense? If that makes any sense, what I'm asking.
I am very fortunate that this is really natural for me.
Mm-hmm.
I think I would be so much better if I would just sit and meditate every day.
Mm-hmm.
But the truth of the matter is, I live a very quiet life. I live alone, and I'm almost in a meditative state all the time. I find that
Mm-hmm.
I'm always talking to God. I'm asking questions, looking for answers, talking to mom or my brother or my guides. Um, so I haven't had to do a lot of that. And quite honestly, I think it's such a natural, ingrained part of
Mm-hmm.
who we are. Now, some people do need to be trained to be quiet, but most of the time, and I do teach, so I'll have students who come to me. Very rarely do they struggle. I teach a class called Introduction to Using Your Intuition.
Mm-hmm.
And it's whether you want to use it in your life or whether you want to use it for someone else to serve others, for other people.
Mm-hmm.
So personal to professional. What I find is in my intuition development class, every single student walks away being able to do mediumship.
Oh, wow.
And the reason for that is I'm not teaching them to use a tool. Teaching them to go inside and to reach out and connect. When you reach out and connect, you can call in your loved ones, you can call in your guides. And
Mm-hmm.
once you know how to do that, it really never leaves,
Right.
right? You create that connection. You know what it is to be grounded. You know what it is, when you feel um, the connection to spirit, or when somebody comes into your energy.
Right.
And, here's a really good example. If you do healing work, for me, if I raise up my hands, I feel the Reiki energy immediately start, and it gets nice and hot and warm. So, like, it's just there. It's like that. It's just there.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I,
Very, very interesting.
yeah. I mean, we're kind of created from stardust. So
Mhm.
I think it's more natural to be the spiritual sense of who we are than the
Mhm.
physical.
Yes. In what ways, Jody, would you say that you really want to just bring out the beautiful part of psychic mediumship in the spiritual realm? What ways do you contribute to that, if I may ask?
I think the contribution is helping people recognize there's more than what we see.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you want to call it paranormal, whether you call it spiritual, ghosts, it doesn't really matter. Aliens, there's more than what we see, and our brains can do so much more. We know that scientifically.
Yes.
And the brightness and the hope for the future that brings,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's
Yes.
kind of funny. What comes to mind is the Jetsons and the video phone,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
right? And so, like, there's so much more. That used to be science fiction. It used to be Star Trek. Well,
Right.
what are we looking at now? What's coming
Right.
in, right?
I've always wondered if there was something to movies and TV programs, and I personally have felt that a lot of these movies and programs have hidden messages that are premonitions into the future. I mean, if you look back at some very specific movies and then you think about world events that have happened or things that maybe have happened even in our own personal lives and the synchronicities, it's really interesting, and it makes you think, like, do directors and producers, are they getting downloads? Are they activating their intuition to create these films or television programs?
I absolutely think they do.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things my students probably get sick of hearing it is our imagination is the gateway to our intuition. Because
I agree with that.
what do people say? Like, when you have your first premonition and then whatever you thought of happens, the first thing people think is, I imagined that.
Right.
Right? I think that's where it comes from. Like, our imagination is connected in so many ways. It's part of our consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
So when we start reaching out and thinking we're being imaginative,
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely believe those are downloads. Look at
Right.
all of the alien movies that have come in. Now, obviously, those have bent to the fears that people have about the potential.
Right.
But look at some of the technology that we see in some of those movies and where we're at now.
Right.
Technology is a great place to look for that.
Absolutely. And technology is evolving too as we speak.
It sure is. I'm just wondering when Beam Me Up Scotty works. Right?
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. So psychic mediumship, I would ask you, Jody, have you noticed that it's evolved a lot since you first began reading for clients or even making it into putting this into your practice? Have you noticed that it has evolved over the years?
My mediumship individually, absolutely. It's amazing to me how much easier it is to connect. I have found that my own personal fears or worries about connecting, anymore, if they come in with a room full of people, I'll be like, I can feel you want to connect with one person and it's a female, but you got 7 females here. What's the name of the person? And I will try to identify who they are to you so that you know who I'm talking to. Because, how many times do we go to parties and we don't remember the names of all of the people we've been introduced to?
Right.
Right. So it feels like that to me. It's just gotten better and better and better. It gets easier and easier. I still have things that happen where I go, oh, I can't quite hear you. And I know you're here for a reason. Like the guy who showed up at the end of my nap last week. But he could have also just been passing through, and my guide said, let's make sure Jody is reminded that she's a magical being today. We're going to let her see somebody. Because every now and then, and this is like, I used to have things in my one cabinet in my home that just move on their own. Now, I'm part of a paranormal community. So, I did all the things to make sure I wasn't imagining it. But this particular figurine I have consistently gets turned around backwards. Yes. And I will ask my guides, can you go in and move this so that I know I'm not imagining this? Or one night I remember after my mom passed, I was like, All right, you guys, I'm kind of feeling lonely. I really miss my family. Can you just give me a couple of knocks? And right before I fell off to sleep, I heard 3 knocks. But that's something that consistently has happened for me my whole life. Is just like, knock, 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 we're here.
Right.
You're protected. We're watching over you. Right?
It's wonderful when we know that we are divinely guided and protected. I know when I'm divinely guided and protected. I know that my angels, my spirit guides, God, I'm communicated with all the time, especially through numbers. I'm constantly communicated through numbers. And blue jays are a strong symbol that the angels are speaking to me. When I see a blue jay, I just know that I'm divinely guided and protected.
Yeah, and for me, it is the red-breasted robins. They started right after my divorce. I was so worried about money and what my new life would be like. And it wasn't 1 or 2, it was like 10, 20 showing up on my front lawn. So I finally went, why am I seeing these? What's the spiritual reason? And that's before I really stepped into my mediumship shoes. And yeah, it was all about new beginnings and abundance. And it's kind of funny because every now and then I'll go, I know your intention for me is to have a happy, fulfilling life, that you want abundance and happiness for me. And then I'll see the bird, and the bird will come in, and it's doing crazy things. Like it's the only bird that's acting a fool on my front lawn, and it's rolling back and forth or doing something funny. And I'm like, look at that bird. There's where the attention needs to go. You know, it's amazing the kinds of signs that we will get.
Absolutely. Going back to a prior topic that we were talking about, it just came to mind. A lot of times adults, we don't believe that we are able to or have the permission to be imaginative or to have moments where our inner child arises and comes out. I see all this because I was speaking to a friend the other day, and I had told her that she was adorable. She had said something in a very funny way that was adorable. And she immediately was like, don't say that. It makes me think of myself as a child. And I said, well, you do understand that even as adults, we do have moments where our inner child comes out. And it's endearing, right? Because it shows that we can still have a very fun-like, airy-like energy. And I think it's important that we have moments like that, and it's not so serious and negative all the time. Just because we're adults doesn't mean that we can't be imaginative and we can't have moments of goofiness or lightheartedness. So I love that you brought that up, because I think it's very important that we have moments where that is activated as adults.
Absolutely. You can't walk around being completely serious all the time. And I don't want to.
Right. Ditto.
You know,
I love to laugh. I love to have a good time. And I think it's important to have those moments.
I've had some medical things happen, so I don't work out as much as I used to. But I would get like down on myself, and I was at a reasonable weight and I was in good health. And I'd find myself taking everything so seriously. So I'd put my hair in 2 ponytails instead of 1 for class. And just let my inner kid be dancy and playful. And, you know, like if I wanted to sit out a part of a section, I was going to sit and not do it. You know, I think it's important to let ourselves play and be lighthearted. We can't always be serious. And I think it's important to be rounded it's part of our imagination.
Yes, it is.
You know, if you tell me I need to act my age, I'm going to say thank you. Because now I know I'm not so serious and life can be easier that way.
Right. More years are added to our life when we smile more. I truly believe that. And I love a motto that I personally go by that I love is changing the world one smile at a time. And I'm a big believer in that. And that's why I do my best to smile and talk to as many people as I can every day. Because a smile can truly change someone's life. It really can.
Sure can. It sure can.
Yes.
you know, I'm pretty aware most of the time that I have a lot in my life to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
But I can look around and see people who deal with more or less and they're not happy.
Mm-hmm.
Happiness is a choice.
Yes,
That
it is.
smile is a choice. It's a choice I always want to be strong enough to make.
Yes. Yes,
Right?
absolutely. Jody, as we near the end of this episode, I am so thankful that I got the opportunity to speak with you today. For the viewers and the listeners that are watching you that are connecting with your energy and want to connect further with you, do you have any websites or social medias that they can reach out to you personally and get a reading with you?
Absolutely. They can connect through my website, which is connectedbyspirit.com. Funny you're talking about connection. They can also find me on my brand new baby, not very active yet, TikTok account as Jody the Medium, or they can come and find me on Facebook, Jody Higgins, Psychic Medium. And there is a comma after Higgins, which makes it sometimes difficult for people to find me. And if they can't, they're welcome to follow me on my personal page. I am, heart sleeve. So, I don't really want to ever hide anything about who I am. And if someone wants to personally follow me, they're welcome. I think that is really important in terms of people knowing who you are, right? There's so many concerns for people who get readings about, you could look me up, you could Google me, blah, blah, blah. I have no time for that,
Right.
Yes. So, but
Awesome.
absolutely connect. I love giving messages out on TikTok. I love connecting to people. I do a lot of events. They're welcome to come see me at anything in Michigan. Even if they just want to ask questions, I'm open to it.
Sounds wonderful. Well, thank you, Jody, so much again for being a guest on the Estrella Podcast. And thank you to all of you listeners and viewers for watching another episode as well. Don't forget, if you have any other questions or you're curious about the brand new Estrella platform that is about to launch, please visit estrella.chat. Thank you so much again. I am Danielle Miranda, and Jody, thank you again, and I hope you have a wonderful day.
Thanks. I hope you and all of your listeners have a great day. Thanks for having me. I'm very honored.
Bye.
Bye.